All right, our next video is on rationalizing denominators. So you've done this in Algebra 2. It's not considered appropriate to leave a radical in the denominator. So there's an example shown here where you have 1 divided by the square root of 3. How to rationalize that is you're going to multiply that square root of 3 to the numerator and the denominator, then multiply across. So we're going to go ahead to this first example. Example A, 15 square roots of 6. So you're going to go ahead and multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of 6. Now we're going to multiply across. You're going to take 15 times the square root of 6, which is 15 square roots of 6. And then in the denominator, you're going to multiply the square root of 6 times the square root of 6, which is the square root of 36, or 6. Now we look to see if we can reduce the 15 and 6. Can you reduce that down by a common factor? Which you can. So you can divide both of them by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then 6 divided by 3 is 2. So your final answer then is 5 square roots of 6 divided by 2. Here is our second topic called multiplying conjugates. We multiply conjugates when we have 2 terms in the denominator. So how you do this is you FOIL them out, and what happens is the middle terms are going to cancel. So when you FOIL first, outside, inside, and last, what you're going to be left with is just A minus B. All right, so here's an example where we want to rationalize the denominator. So our denominator has 2 terms, not just a single term. So we want to multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate is going to be the opposite sign of that denominator. So the complex conjugate is going to be 5 minus the square root of 3. And they do that one more time. 5 minus the square root of 3. I'm going to put a bracket around that first denominator. All right, so we're going to go ahead and multiply across. So my suggestion is that you do not distribute that numerator first, that's 7. So you're just going to go 7 times the quantity 5 minus the square root of 3. In the denominator, those are conjugates. So you could FOIL them out first, outside, inside, last. Or go back to this rule. What you're going to be left with when you FOIL those out is just A minus B. So when we do that, A is 5 times 5. So I'll just show you it FOILed out, and then you can see why it does work. All right, so first, 5 times 5 is 25. Outside, 5 times negative square root of 3 is negative 5 square roots of 3. Then we go to inside. Positive 3 times square root of 5 is 5 square roots of 3. And then last, positive square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 is going to be negative square root of 9, which is negative 3. Now notice these 2 terms are going to cancel out. They're going to undo each other, becoming 0. All right. Now we have that numerator still as it is. In the denominator, we have 25 minus 3, which is 22. Now you do want to check to see if there is a reduction like we had on the previous example. So in this example, notice that 5 and 16 reduced by a common factor of 3. We don't have a common factor here. So you could just go ahead and distribute that 7 through, or you could leave it alone. So I'm just going to go ahead and distribute it. So 7 times 5 is 35. And then 7 square roots of 3 all over 22.